Today, history is the centre of more arguments than ever before. Everyone from people on social media, journalists in newspapers, on the radio and television, academics in universities and politicians in parliament and in government are concerned that we're getting history wrong. Some say that we in this country don't know enough about our history, about empire, about slavery, about the cruelties and crimes committed in the name of this country. Others argue that there are people out there who are trying to rewrite our history, and that our story, our history needs to be protected. In order for you to understand these debates and discussions, you need to know our history. But what is our history? Before we can answer that question, we need to think about who we are. So who are we? Everyone in Britain has family who migrated to this country. The only difference between us is when our people came here. For some of you, you are the migrants, and for some of you, it's your parents or grandparents. For others, your family might have arrived hundreds of years ago. For many of you, different parts of your family tree took root in this country at different times, with relatives coming from different places. In Year 10, we focus on the idea of migration by studying courses on the Norman Conquest and migration to Britain from the 13th century. It's a story of how invasion, religious turmoil, trade, empire and war have not just shaped our history, but shaped who we are. In the Norman Conquest, we flesh out a story the bones of which you already know. We do look at William the Conqueror and battles and castles, but we also look at the society that the Anglo-Saxons created after their arrival in Britain, their culture and customs, and what life was like for the men and women who lived here. And then we look at how a wave of French migrants, the Normans and their allies, fundamentally reshaped English society, for better and for worse. When we look at migration, we hear surprising, inspirational, tragic, and exciting stories about people who've moved to our country since the 1200s. We look at why they came, their experiences, and how they shaped our country. We'll meet Jewish people, Dutch people, French people, Irish people, Germans, Italians, Indians, people from the Caribbean, Poles, Czechs, Romanians, Africans, and others. We'll hear their stories and find out how they became our stories, how they became us. We'll look at how that story itself was shaped by Britain's relationship to the rest of the world through the Reformation, international trade, exploration, empire, global war, politics and business. In Year 10, we'll look closer to home. We'll explore the history of our area, the Fens, how the very land that we live on was shaped by people who lived here, from prehistory through the Roman occupation, the medieval period, the draining of the Fens and modern farming. We'll meet a surprising cast of characters who've called our corner of England home, and each has left its mark for us to discover. Year 11, we widen our scope somewhat, because how can we tell who we are if we don't look at other cultures and places? With this in mind, we'll reflect on our society by comparing our freedoms to the oppressive dictatorship of Nazi Germany. We'll find out how Hitler's regime shaped the lives of different people, men, women and children, inside and outside of Germany. And finally, we'll look at one of the great civilizations of world history, the Mughal Empire in India. We'll look at its rise and its decline. We'll look at Indian history in its own terms, not just how it's related to Britain. But by focusing on this, we will also get a better perspective on Britain's past. Well, so why should you do history? Well, I hope I've convinced you that it's interesting and it's important. But it can also be useful to you. If you're thinking of studying any of the social sciences at A-level, history or sociology, politics, law, philosophy or criminology, this course will help you. However, this course isn't just for people who are interested in doing A-levels. We don't care if you get a grade 9 or a grade 1, so long as the grade you get is the very best grade that you can get. So if you're interested in the subject and you're interested in working hard, then we want you. If you have any questions, please talk to your history teacher. Thank you for listening.